Hello students, welcome to the Recitals in Depth by Vajiram and Ravi, where we will be covering the economy and infrastructure September 2024 current affair topics in great detail. The broad themes which we are going to cover today are as follows: Indian agriculture, money and banking, public finance, investment and infrastructure, and social development. So stay tuned. Hello guys, welcome to the economy and infrastructure portion of the recitals for the month of September 2024, where we will be trying to understand these many articles in this edition. So firstly, I want to advise all of you to open your recitals and watch the video alongside, so that you will be having a comprehensive reading of the recitals and also the understanding at the same time. So with this, we'll be starting our very first article. Now in the very first article, we'll be trying to understand the ins and outs of the concept of White Revolution 2.0, because recently the government of India focused on launching the second phase of the White Revolution. And here, let me tell you, the second phase, according to the government, will be led by the cooperatives of our country. Now, cooperatives, or also known as cooperative societies, are pioneers when it comes to the leading of the milk production and distribution in the country. Now, we all know about Amul, right? And also we know something about the Amul model, which we'll be also trying to discuss today. So, this particular model has popularized the production, distribution and marketing of milk in the country, which has actually led to India to among the top producers of milk in the entire world. So that is what we will be trying to understand, the grand narrative of our country to boost milk production in the country. Now when we try to understand this, firstly we'll be talking about Operation Flood. Now, Operation Flood was inaugurated by the government of India, right, in 1970s. Now, what was it all about? As we can, understand from the name itself, flood. So, the government of India and also the various interested parties in the milk production of our country, they tried to understand how we can increase the production of milk over a period of time, such as that there will be a flood of milk in the entire country and also in the entire world that will be coming from India. So that is what we have to understand. Amul took the lead into this by actually setting up various networks of milk distribution, as you can see in this particular map. As you can see, mostly Amul model focused on building cooperatives, that is forming various groups of farmers, and with the National Dairy Development Board of India setting up a national milk grid that will be connecting all of the milk producers, mainly via the channel of cooperatives, all across 700 towns and cities in the country back then. So as of now, we have around, say, 75 years of Amul, right, which is right now, as we can see, linking almost all parts of the country. And let me tell you, in this Operation Flood, the World Bank carried out an research, right, about the effectiveness and about the implementation of this particular model in the country of popularizing the production of milk in the country. What World Bank commented is a very, very important thing that we can use in our mains answers, is that dairying was seen as an instrument of development, generating employment and regular incomes for millions of rural people, because the main objective of Operation Flood was to increase the production of milk, to bring women empowerment, because most of the livestock in the country back then and even till now are being handled by women in the rural areas and also in the semi-urban and the urban areas too. And finally, it is also to create job opportunities. So this is why Operation Flood is actually a very, very important operation, right? And also we can understand Operation Flood can be viewed as a 20-year experiment confirming the rural development vision. So there are many ways in which we can develop our rural areas, right? Through agricultural support, through livestock support. So this is why we have to understand, according to World Bank, this was actually a 20-year practice that led to rural development in various pockets of the country, as we can see here. Mainly what we can understand, the production and distribution of the milk here was concentrated in the north and the, say, western part of India initially, but gradually, as we can understand, over a phase-wise implementation of the Operation Flood, it led to the widespread distribution of the entire, say, mission all over the country. As we can see here, Operation Flood was implemented across 3 phases. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. Phase 1 was from 1970 to 81, then Phase 2 was 81 to 85, then Phase 3 was from 87 to 96. So around 20 years. That's why the World Bank is talking about 20 years of rural development vision. And that is what we can understand over a period of time. As we can see, over a period of time, the government would increase the investments. And also, as we can understand, that the number of members in across various milk cooperatives across the national milk grid, as we have seen, has been increasing, right? And also, when we talk about the states covered across this entire India, right, across these phases, so we can understand in across 3 phases, even the islands were covered. So this we can understand that through a proper implementation of Operation Flood, India tried to enhance its milk production over a period of time. And when we talk about Amul model and the success of Amul, so we have to start somewhere, right? What is the model all about? See, right now India have many cooperatives. For example, say, as we can see here, these are the dairy cooperative brands of each and every state of the country, right? Starting from Sikkim, West Bengal, Jammu and Kashmir, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Orissa. So all of the states have their own unique brands of cooperatives. And I have been talking about this cooperative model, Amul model. So what is it all about? How does this function in real life? So that is what we are trying to see here. Now, when we talk about this model, we have to start from the very bottom. But at the outset, I want to, talk to you about the broader structure. So what happens is that we know that cooperative societies are established by members. So who are these members? These members are having a shared vision. In our case, is to have milk production and also to increase their own milk production at the farmer level, right, over a period of time. So what they do, they form a cooperative, they form a group, they have their own collective practices, their knowledge, their inputs that they need, right? For example, so livestock feed and so on. Say they try to collaborate and they aim to have collective growth of each and every cooperative. So we start at, say, for example, the member producers, who are the basic members of the cooperatives. So they do what? They supply, whatever the milk they have produced to the village dairy cooperative societies, who supply the same to the district milk unions, who supply the milk to the state milk federation, and finally, they, or say state milk federation, they supply the milk to Amul in this case, to various other companies in this case, right? So this is how this entire supply chain is being functioning. Now, here, the main step in this particular supply chain of milk production in India starts with the producer members, where there are around 16.6 million member producers pan India, and this is only we are talking about Amul. Now imagine the case of the rest of the states cooperatives. So imagine the number or the strength of the members there. So where they understand, we have to understand that the member producers, they do what? They aim for milk distribution, milk production, right? And these particular members, they also select their representatives who will be managing the DMUs, the district milk unions, right there. Next, what happens is that they will be supplying the milk, for example, to the village dairy cooperative societies, right? They will be collecting milk from the farmers and they does the milk procurement. So whatever the money that they have to give to the individual farmers are being managed by the village dairy cooperative. So we can understand the entire supply chain has been broken down into such precise manner. Acha, what does the VDU do? So they do what? They actually try to coordinate with the district milk unions. Now district milk unions are very, very essential. Why? Because they supply money to the VDUs, which finally they will be distributing to the member producers, right? Now whatever, say the VDUs will be collecting milk from the producers, they will be supplying the milk to the district milk unions, and the district milk union, they will be having some bonus, they will be having some dividends, they will be having some additional price differences from the market price and the procurement price, some of the excess profits, right? And also the district milk unions, they will be also supplying cattle feed, good amount of cattle feed, right? Vet and various other animal husbandry services, rural health schemes, right? To empower the milk producers and their cattle, right? Because we have to understand district milk unions, they will be supervising each and every village cooperative societies, and according to their needs, according to the production, according to their members, they will be supplying all of this. And finally, the VDUs will be supplying all of these things, all of this cattle feed, say bonus, dividends and everything to the member producers, right? And you may ask me that why the district milk unions are getting this kind of, say, benefits of, say, serving this kind of things, because they are supervising the districts, right? They are supervising the each and every village cooperatives, correct? And they employ professionals to manage the dairy processing, packaging and other links in the supply chain. They sell the milk and milk products to the state milk federation. So whatever the milk produce that they are getting from the village cooperatives, they will be packing it, processing it in proper, say, distilleries, and they will be supplying the same to the state milk federation. The state milk federation, they will be doing what? They will be acting as a distributor. So you can see here, right, the state, district, villages, village cooperatives, they have their functions delineated. And finally, what the state will be doing, they still will be distributing, that will be selling the milk products in the market, and whatever the revenue that will be generated, that will be trickled downwards. As we can understand, whatever the sales revenue, right, that will be generated, they will be given to the district milk federations or unions. And finally, the bonus, shares, cattle feed and everything that the farmers require at the ground level, right, everything that they will be requiring will be coming from the sales revenue. And that is actually a very, very important point here, correct? And finally, the state milk federations will be supplying whatever the extra profits or whatever, say, the other financial prerequisites it would be to the various cooperatives, in this case Amul, right? So we can understand, in financial year 2020, the entire turnover of Amul was 52,000+ crores. It is a huge amount, right? And all of these are pioneered by, or say propelled by whom? The milk producers, the grassroots people who belong to the villages, to the various cooperative societies. They supply the milk there, right? And also this has made Amul Asia's largest and world's 9th largest dairy. And this is not a, say, small feat. Let me tell you, this is an incredible feat. And that is why we have to understand, we have to look at some current scenario, or say some of the important data with reference to milk production. Nothing too much to understand here. Just extract the information for your means. And also, some of the information can also be important for your prelims, because milk and dairy production is actually one of the most priority sectors in the Indian economy. So that is why we will be looking at, firstly, the distribution across, say, the states when it comes to milk production. So the number one state that comes here, Uttar Pradesh, right? UP is actually the India's largest milk producer, followed by, say, various other states such as Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and so on, right? And also when we talk about, say, the distribution of, say, the milk cooperatives in the country, we have to understand the structure of Indian dairy industry as of 2012. So the structure, or say the data, can change a little bit, right? But when we talk about 2012 levels, when we talk about the Indian dairy industry, so it is divided into organized and unorganized production of milk. The organized production of milk generally takes place through cooperative societies, which are formalized in this Amul model or the various state say cooperative models, right? So they are forming only 20%. The rest of them are unorganized, right? Remember the milkman that comes to our house, that who has their own cattle, and after milking the cattle, they come with the milk at our homes to sell. So they are actually a part of the unorganized sector, right? Where we can understand the organized sector, as we can, if we can go back to our previous model slide. So the organized milk producing sectors have many benefits. First benefit is that they will be actually getting, bonus, or say the farmers at the very end, the member producers of the cooperatives, they will be getting what? They will be getting proper amount of bonus, dividends, price differences, cattle feed supply they will be getting, right? This is a very, very important thing, and one of the most important inputs for milk production. They will be getting good amount of cattle feed, right? Such amount of feed that, the cattle would be disease free and having optimum amount of milk production. veterinary, animal husbandry services such as artificial insemination, right? And also the rural health development schemes, not only for their cattle but also for the member producers here. So actually what we understand, if you are a part of this model, if you are a part of this organized model, you will be getting these many benefits and also along a specific period of time. But what happens, 80% of say the dairy industry in the country belong to the unorganized sector, which is a sad truth, because they are not getting the full benefits that the cooperative model will be getting. And that is actually one of the main reasons that the government is targeting right now to further strengthen the role of the cooperatives in the Indian dairy sector. When we talk about the organized sector, there are private dairies, there are cooperative societies, there are government dairies too. So these are the main distribution that we have to look at. Finally, when we look at the organized market here, right, where are they located? These are very important for your prelims, right? So by type, we understand most of the production, right, in the country takes place via cooperative societies, right? And this we have seen that a little bit of them are in the organized and some of them are in the unorganized sector, but majority are produced by the cooperative societies, whereas by the private players, right? Now in the comment section, can you let me know some of the examples of private players, or say some of the names of the private players in the country as of now? Then by geography, as we can understand, most of the cooperatives are distributed in the north, as we have seen in the very first map also, right? Then we have to understand the cooperative model is also popular in the West India, South India, followed by East India, correct? Now, when we look at the overall, say, facts, or say the data that we can use to start our answers with in mains, right? The total milk production in India increased from around 187 million tons to around 230 million tons in just a matter of, say, 4 to 5 years as of 2022-23, right? But the annual growth rate of production came down from 6.4 to 3.8% during the same 4 to 5 years. Why? Because we have understood the role of, say, the unorganized sector, right? Because not only they are getting the many benefits, they are not getting the many benefits, but also they find that they are at the headwinds of major economic events. For example, say in 2022, there was a scenario when the global soybean prices were rising. And let me tell you, soybean is a very important ingredient in the input of, say, the milk production, right? This is the kind of a cattle feed that is given to the various cow, to the various, say, buffaloes, right? So that is why, since the price increased, right, they suffered a loss, and this is actually one of the main reasons due to which the production did not grow at a very fast rate, right? Then about 63% of total milk production comes to the market. The remainder is kept by the producers for their own consumption. Again, a very, very important fact, right? And about 2/3 of the marketable milk is in the unorganized sectors, as we have seen, right? Then when we talk about the per capita availability of milk, the national per capita availability of milk is 459 grams per day, which is actually higher than the global average of just around 323 grams per day. And also when the number varies from around 329 from Maharashtra to 1283 in Punjab. So interstate distribution is also one of the major reasons. Now, when we have looked at the various data, when we have looked at the model here, now we have to look at the broader government agenda of the day, right? Now, what the government is trying to achieve. Government is trying to usher in a white revolution 2.0 in the dairy sector. And this is actually according to the news that India is the world's top milk producer, with production having reached 230 million tons during 2022-23. And the idea of 2.0 white revolution is actually coming from the, say, cooperative societies. And this is where the government is having the target of increasing dairy cooperative societies by 50% in the next 5 years. This is a very, very important target, because we have seen that the cooperative model is the bedrock of Indian dairy sector. So that is why we have to empower them. We have to empower the cooperative sectors. We have to bring in more animal husbandry farmers into our cooperative sectors. So this is why we have to understand the target is very, very significant. Next, also the government is trying to improve the milk production by the cooperatives per day to around 1,000 lakh kilograms. So this is also very huge amount. Next, government is also trying to set up 56,000 new multi-purpose cooperatives. Now these multi-purpose cooperatives are forming many functions, right? Not only related to say dairy, it can be also related to say including financial inclusion, giving rural credit and so on, right? And also the funding will be done by the National Dairy Development Board 2.0. Why 2.0? Because their functions will be improved to scale up the funding with reference to the dairy sectors, and that is why we have to understand the funding will be channelized through to actually empower the cooperatives in the in the country. And around 40,000 rupees will be given to 1,000 multi-purpose PACS or primary agricultural credit societies. Now we have to understand that PACS are actually the grassroots cooperative banks, right? At the state level we have the state cooperative bank, then at the district level we have the same, and finally at the grassroots level we have the primary cooperative banks. So this is actually one of the main reasons that the PACS will be brought into the picture to give more credit to the cooperatives in the say rural areas, because we have to understand that PACS are more in close contact with the say rest of the various say cooperatives in the rural areas. Though the scheduled commercial banks, the RRBs, while they are also present in the rural areas, but it is actually the PACS who have the close connection with the cooperatives in the rural areas. That is why 1,000 rupees will be given to them. And also this particular funding by the National Dairy Development Board 2.0 and also the funding by the multi-purpose PACS, they will be mainly to boost the overall infrastructure of the say dairy sector in the country. Firstly, they will be trying to achieve the infrastructure improvement in the particular rural areas by setting up more and more milk weighing machines, milk testing, milk cooling, then transport, then various other sampling investments that the farmers they have to take. Then they are also trying to improve the implementation of the broader government schemes in this particular sector. Now when we talk about those government schemes, we have various government schemes in this particular sector, right? So this is one of the efforts that the government is taking to bring in White Revolution 2.0. But apart from that, government over a period of time, they have also been taking many initiatives to improve the say milk production in the country. Firstly, when we talk about the same, this is actually Gokul mission, right? Under the Rashtriya Gokul mission, the integrated indigenous cattle centers called Gokul Grams are being established. Now we can understand, right? The indigenous breeds in the country, right, that produce milk, they are actually much more suitable in Indian context. So that is why we must be trying to boost their production of milk in the country. And that is why these Gokul Grams are being set up. Well, they have been functioning as centers for development of indigenous breed and also as dependable source for supply of high genetic breeding stocks to the farmers. Apart from this, we have to also look at the various other government schemes here. Firstly, the National Livestock Mission, which is actually trying to promote the profession of the livestock management across the dairy development in the say various sectors of the rural economy. And also, right, it is also trying to promote this habit of mixed cultivation, mixed farming, where we can have say crops on the field and also cattle on the other side, where it can help to increase the incomes of the farmer and essentially double the incomes of the farmers. Next, we also have the National Artificial Insemination Program, which is trying to promote healthy breeds, and also it's trying to eradicate various genetic disorders in the cattle, and also promote high productive variants of various breeds, right? Next, we have the National Cattle and Buffalo Breeding Project across various sectors, across various districts. We also have the National Animal Disease Control Program, which is a very, very important say initiative, because in the past few years there have been many cattle diseases in the country as of now, and this has been leading to the loss of lives of various cattle. And also prominently, as we have seen in 2022-23, right, the prices of milk were soaring up, right, due to various diseases affecting the cattle. And that is why this particular mission is very important. And finally, we have the Animal Husbandry Startup Grand Challenge, which is trying to bring in innovative ideas from various startups to disrupt this entire scenario of the dairy economy. And by disruption I mean positively disrupting, bringing in better technology, better say innovation in this particular sector. So this is the entire scenario of things, or the grand scenario of the things that you need to keep in mind for your White Revolution 2.0. And here, like always, I have various practice questions for all of you at the end of every topic. You please do let me know the answers of this kind of questions in the comments below. Right now we'll be moving on to the next one. Recently the government of India has launched an initiative to provide 6,000 crore to boost precision farming in the country, and this is actually by pioneering a smart precision horticulture program in the country, which will be developed under the existing mission for integrated development of horticulture mission scheme in the country. And when it comes to using technology in agriculture, it becomes very important and imperative for the nation to boost farming with the various tools that we have recently. For example, artificial intelligence, drones, data, blockchain technology, and so on. So the technological imperative is very interesting, and if we can combine the same with the agriculture productivity, that will be doing wonders. Now, to understand the concept of precision farming very precisely, we have to look at this farmland, right? What we see here, what the differences that we see from our usual farmlands. Firstly, we see that there are some things which we say have here as a drone, right? Then we have some sensors, then we have some say coordinating ground stations, right? Then we have smartphone where the farmer is controlling some aspects, right? At the ground level also we have various irrigation systems, we have the weather stations, we have the various sensors. So this is for what? This is actually to improve the productivity of the entire farmland here. So imagine this is you and this is your farm, right? This is your farmhouse. So what you do, you try to produce some of the crops. But in India we understand that the agriculture is generally seen as a very intensive or say labor intensive say function or say economic activity, where we employ many labors, and also you as a farmer, for example, you have to be involved in each and every aspect of these agricultural activities, and this can be sometimes very laborious for the various farmers. So to improve their lives, to reduce their efforts while maximizing the production, so this precision farming is coming up. So what is it is actually looking at, it is the installation of precisely these technologies across your entire farm to bring in a harmony of the say production in your farm, and also give you good returns. How? For example, you have planted some crops which require daily irrigation. So you do what? You just switch on your tab in your phone in irrigation, right? Where your phone is linked with this entire system. Your phone, your PC, your laptop, your tablet, which you have at your farmhouse, right? They will be linked with this entire ecosystem. This ecosystem is consisting of the things that we have seen. Irrigation system, weather systems, drones, decision support systems, right? So what you do from your home, you look at the crops, right? You go to the fields, maybe you look at the crops, you access the various conditions of your field. Then you think that okay, maybe I have to switch on the irrigation because right now the crops need some irrigations. So you do this one, and also you can control the level of irrigation from minimum to maximum level. This is also a thing, right? For example, say if you see that your farm is quite big, right, and maybe you cannot go through the entire length of your field there. So what you do not manually go there, and also you maybe do not send your labor there. You do what? You send a drone. You send a drone to look at what is the condition of the crops here, right? So easy, right? Then also you understand that this particular area is very prone to say flooding, right? And maybe sometimes say droughts also in some across some parts of the year. So what you do? You look at the weather station. You open your app, you open that weather tab and see what is the weather prediction for the next 2-3 weeks, right? So because you have a weather station installed, you have some Also, soil moisture sensors installed in your soil. So this will be looking at the soil moisture level, right? Depending on the soil moisture, you can also manage your irrigation system. If you feel your soil is getting dry, just irrigate a little bit using a smartphone, right? Also, if you're having some technical issues, for example, say if you do not know exactly which type of seeds to use, which types of, say, fertilizers to use, right? Or for example, you just need, say, another repairing repairing of your irrigation system here, you can just control the decision support center or a call center, right? Which is again there in your app, right? And everything is integrated in an ecosystem, as we can see here, right? In a smartphone, in a particular tablet, smartphone, right? So this is where we have to understand, this is the precision farming. And also, if you can understand, right, in India, generally we have high amounts of usage of chemicals and pesticides and so on in the farming. Also, in this particular precision farming, can we not also use, say, precise use of pesticides in our, or say precise use of, say, fertilizers in our farmlands, right? So we can only use up to that amount of fertilizers that this particular farmland is needing, up to that amount of water that this farmland needs. So this will be also leading to greater amount of savings, right? So this is exactly how the precision agriculture is functioning. And when we talk about, say, the various precision farming initiatives in the country, then firstly we have to understand that India is learning a lot from a very important nation right now, right? That is Israel. Now, Israel, as you may already know, is actually far ahead in development of its rural or say agricultural scenario. By using various drones, by using technology, Israel is transforming their own agriculture, and that is why India is also very keen to learn from Israel. So what what India did recently in Alappuzha, right, in Kerala, first Israel model farming in the state of Kerala has reaped rich dividend. That is precision farming, which has been used in Alappuzha. They have yielded good results, and this is actually one of the case studies that you can actually use in your answers. That last March in 2023, a delegation of 27 young farmers from the Kerala visited Israel to study the precise farming practice there. And also, not only this, but also government has been taking many important steps in this particular regard, right? Firstly, when we talk about the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, right, this is actually to improve, say, the scenario of irrigation in the country, and to also reduce the overuse of water in the overall rural areas, right? This is about expanding the cultivable areas over irrigation, improving on-farm water usage efficiency, encouraging precision agriculture and precision irrigation, and also 35 lakh hectares of land irrigation have been saved since 2015, right? And this is a very, very important initiative of the country to promote a sustainable amount of irrigation. And also we have to understand, apart from this, we also have various other initiatives by the government of India. Firstly, we have the National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture. National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture is trying to promote sustainable ways of agriculture. For example, say promoting organic farming, natural farming, promoting the use of technology, right? Which is a very, very important aspect here. And when we talk about promoting technology, it is actually to reduce the various, excess amount of water usage, and monitor by using drones, artificial intelligence, and so on, right? Next, a very important initiative is the Digital Agricultural Mission, right? Digital Agricultural Mission is trying to introduce something which we know as AgriStack, right? That also we'll be covering in the discussion later. AgriStack is referring to something which we know as Digital Public Infrastructure, or DPI. So this is actually having a whole of agriculture approach, where from, say, the various crop surveys to farmer identity to the crop database, everything, for example, the weather information, everything will be related to a particular AgriStack, or the same thing that we have as an Aadhaar card, right? So that is what this particular initiative is aiming at, to revolutionize and digitize the overall agricultural sector. Next, we also have recently the promotion of drones, right? the promotion of drones, particularly via many schemes, for example, Drone Didi scheme, promotion of Internet of Things, right, in the agriculture arena. Then we also have the various amounts of micro irrigation technologies that is coming up, right? So these are the various amounts of technologies that the government of India is using as of now to revolutionize the agriculture scenario in the nation. And also, all of these are hinting at the gradual precision farming in the country. Next, the government is also having around 22 precision agricultural development institutions across the nation. Next, for greater amount of, say, agricultural infrastructure, we also have the Agricultural Infrastructure Fund. Right, Agriculture Infrastructure Fund is a very, very important scheme to promote better infrastructure over a period of time. So these are broadly the major initiatives that the government is taking to boost precision farming in the nation. Now, when we talk about, say, some of the benefits and challenges of the same, that is benefits and challenges of adopting precision agriculture. So firstly, when we talk about the benefits here, so the first benefit is that it is trying to say promote better use efficiency, right? Use efficiency of not only say various chemicals such as insecticides, pesticides and so on. It is also trying to promote the use efficiency of water. Now water is a resource that is wasted a lot in our farmlands, right? So that is why to promote the same we need a better amount of precision agriculture. Next, it is also very light on the environmental side, right? On the environmental pollution and degradation side, precision farming brings in a lot of benefits because we are having precise use of chemicals, water and so on. This is leading to less risks of eutrophication, right? Less risks of groundwater, right? Depletion, correct? So these are the various things, various benefits associated with the same, right? Third, it is also trying to decrease the unnecessary efforts of the farmers, right? Where they can actually invest the free time to boost their agriculture production, right? And also try to harmonize the entire agriculture scenario. Next, it is also trying to prevent agricultural losses, maybe due to various disasters, droughts, excessive floods and so on, because the farmers, they will be getting aware of the same using various weather alerts and so on. So this is actually, they are also preventing some of the losses, right? And finally, we have to understand overall, right, it will be leading to a greater amount of production while also having each and every integration of the entire farmland. They will be getting to know about their data of the farmlands, right? How much a particular field of their farmland are actually productive, right? So they will be getting the data, they will be trying to analyze them, and they will be making a good amount of efforts in this particular matter. So these are the various benefits. Apart from this, we also have some challenges. Now these challenges are very, very crucial. Why? Because the very first challenge is the challenge of high cost, right? High cost in the initial phases, because to set up this sensitive equipments, as we have seen, it involves a cost, and that is what actually is not something that the Indian farmers are very friendly with, right? And we have to also understand that apart from the cost, right, the technical expertise that controlling various irrigation, various drones from your mobile app is something that our farmers are not well equipped with. So they also need more training in this particular matter, right? Then also we have the aspect of digital divide in our country, where we understand in our rural areas, while people may have smartphones, but they are not properly aware of the various features of how to use technology. So that is also one of the aspects here. And finally, the privacy aspect is also there, right? Why privacy aspect? Because precision agriculture is not only helping the farmers in this particular benefits here. It is trying to capture all your data related to your farm, right? It is looking into the data of your inputs. It is looking into the data of how you manage your soil, what is your, say, credentials, what is your bank account and everything, right? So everything is being integrated on the one portal, right? And also this is resulting into the breach of privacy by the maybe various, say, private companies will be supplying these technologies to the farmers. So privacy is also important threat here. But here, when we talk about, say, the proposal, right, to launch this scheme to boost precision farming, so firstly we have to understand that this is an allocation of 6,000 crores where smart technologies such as artificial intelligence, such as Internet of Things, right, such as blockchain technology, right, they all will be used. Then using of drones, right, micro irrigation. So everything will be used in a particular matter that will be covering 15,000 acres in 5 years, that is from 2024-25 to 2028-29, right? And this will be benefiting around 60,000 farmers, while the role of the agriculture infrastructure fund is very, very important here. This agriculture infrastructure fund was actually the main aspect of providing or improvement of debt financing facility for post-harvest infrastructure of the Indian farmlands. While the post-harvest means that after the crop has been harvested, what would be the various infrastructure that should be following up, right? So this is the main aspect, this is the main promotion of this particular scheme here. And here a corpus of 1 lakh crore for various FPOs, self-help groups, PACS, right? Then we have the startups, agri-entrepreneurs can access the money from this particular fund, where there will be interest subvention for up to 3% per annum, and the upper limit will be 2 crores. Why? We have to understand the amount of the concept of interest subvention, right? That is just a discount on your interest rate. Say if the market interest rate is 10%, the subvention of 3% means that effectively you have to pay 7% of interest rates, right? And here in this particular aspect, the farmers will be given concessional, say, interest subvention of 3% to develop precision farming that will be benefiting 60,000 farmers. So eligibility will be individual farmers, member farmers, cooperative farmers, self-help groups, even the PACS who can get the fund and, say, instead distribute the funds to the various farmers, right? Startups, agri-entrepreneurs, they all can access these particular funds. And also a very, very important aspect here, also you can quote this in your IR answers, that this has been a collaboration with the Netherlands and Israel, and also around 100 centers of excellence has been set up in 5 years. So this is actually what the scheme is trying to promote in the country, and we hope that it will be a better scheme going forward in, say, the Indian agriculture scenario. And this is what brings us to this question. You please let me the answer of the same in the comments below. Recently, the government of India has launched its AgriSURE Fund that will be fueling the agri-tech startups in the country by allocating 750 crores fund for startups and rural enterprises. We have just seen the incentive, the various government schemes that have been coming up to boost production in the Indian agriculture. And also the government over a period of time is trying to promote the role of startups in the Indian agriculture, because since say many years it has been seen, while the startups are broadly present in various other sectors of the Indian economy, industry, services and so on, the participation of startups in the Indian agriculture field is actually very low. So to boost them, to boost their role, we are coming up with this AgriSURE Fund. AgriSURE Fund is a very, very important fund. Do not forget to ensure to include the example of this fund in your answers, not only related to agriculture, but also to startups and so on. So please do be very, very well aware of this particular fund. When we look at these details, we have to just look at some of the important details for our prelims examination. This fund is worth 750 crores, right? 750 crores. Well, this 750 crores have been divided into 3 components, right? 250, 250 and 250, right? While the first 250s will be coming from the government of India, right? First 250 that will be coming from the central government, right? First from the central government, and second that will be going or coming from the NABARD, right? So NABARD will be filling this 250 crores, and the rest of the 250 crores that will be coming from the private sector, right? that will be coming from the private sector. And the entire 750 crore has been set up as a category 2 alternative investment fund. The alternative investment funds are actually a different way of funding various startups in the country. What are they? They are actually, say, pool of various funds. For example, say, if I talk about the 750 crore, what happened here? The government of India via central government and the NABARD and the, say, private sector, they do what? They did what? They pulled their funds, right? They pulled their 750 crores, and what the 750 crores will be doing? They will be investing in various startups, right? Not all startups, but only the agri startups to boost the agri entrepreneurship in the rural areas. So this will be managed by the NAB Ventures as wholly owned subsidiary of NABARD itself, right? And they will be ensuring the funding in two ways. Firstly, via fund of fund schemes and a direct scheme, right? Where fund of fund scheme will be getting 450 crores, a direct scheme will be getting 350 crores. And here, when we look at this particular fund of fund schemes, right, the agri fund of fund is actually consisting of, say, around 450 crores, right? And the, say, direct scheme is consisting of around 350 crores, right? We'll be looking at these details in the next slide. But firstly, let us look at the various goals. So the various goals are firstly to boost innovation and sustainability in the Indian agriculture, enhance financing for the sector, and also benefiting the small and marginal farmers. Why? Because the startups, for example, say, be it the, say, production of rice. So if a particular startup is interested in investing in the, or say, improving the supply chain of rice in the country, so what they will be doing? They will be collaborating with the various small and marginal farmers. They will be pooling their resources and they will be streamlining the supply chain, right? Next, according to the investment areas in this particular fund, we have innovation in agriculture, farm produce value chain improvement, rural infrastructure development, employment generation, supporting farm producer organizations, IT-based solutions for agriculture, and machinery rental services for farmers. So these are the various areas where the startups can invest their money and they can actually have a viable business model in this particular matter. And here, in this particular aspect, we'll be looking into the two types of schemes in which this scheme has been launched. Firstly, as a fund of fund scheme, right, where this particular AgriSURE fund has been divided into fund of fund and direct scheme, as we have seen. So this scheme, the fund of fund scheme, is oriented towards funding the support to the various startups for onward investments in the startups as defined by the government of India, right, and also in the preferred sectors. But here, what we have to understand, the direct scheme is focused on to directly invest the money in the startups as a form of equity, or say a percentage of the ownership of the startups. So this aims to invest in the early age startups focused on agriculture, and they will be, say, addressing the equity funding in this particular aspect. Right here, mainly the funding will be, say, going as a kind of a loan and a debt. Here, the financing will be acquiring the equity. So if, for example, say NABARD is having the equity of a startup here in this particular direct scheme, and let me tell you, the startups have to be registered with the DPIIT. Now, can you tell me in the comment section under which ministry DPIIT is falling under? Right, so DPIIT registered recognized startups will be getting this equity funding, and this will be improving their performance over a period of time. So this was all the things that we need to know, according to the scheme here, and please do let me know the answer of the same in the comments below. Now, in this next article, we are going to discuss the significance of India's hosting of the International Cooperatives Alliance General Assembly. For the first time, right, in the history of International Cooperative Alliance, right, in the history of 130 years, India will be is actually going to hold the General Assembly of the same in the month of November. And this is actually one of the most important imperatives for India, as we have seen in the very first article, that India is trying to promote dairy cooperatives. But in India, we do not have only cooperatives related to the dairy sector. We also have cooperatives in various sectors of the rural economy, and not only in rural economy, but also in, say, finance, in banking, and so on. So that is what the government is trying to promote, the aspect of cooperative sectors and their presence in the Indian economy, for which a separate Ministry of Cooperation has also been set up. So we understand that the government of India is following something which we know as Sahakar, say Samriddhi, and this is actually by, say, the improving the amount of cooperation and have prosperity with the amount of cooperative sectors in the country. So this is also a very, very important initiative that the government of India is going to take, and also by the official launch of the UN International Year of Cooperation in 2025. So this is what the Indian government is trying to promote here. And let me tell you, say, according to 130 years of its history, this is for the first time that India will be hosting the General Assembly and the Global Cooperative Conference, which will be held in the month of November, right? And the theme for this year is Cooperatives Build Prosperity for All. And let me tell you, this particular body is very, very important internationally. While this was set up in 1895, and let me tell you, at that time India was actually the founding member, right? The founding member of this International Cooperative Alliance, right? And this is a very, very important fact, that India was a founding member of the same, because India, since the very beginning, was actually very interested and also actually very well inclined across various international institutions back then, right? That sought to bring in rural progress, that sought to bring in inclusive growth in the entire world. And can you in the comment section let me know one of the, say, other various international organizations that India was actually a founding member or was actually part of before India's independence, right? So this is actually one of those organizations, and what they are trying to do, this is actually a kind of a, say, non-governmental organization, International Cooperative Alliance, which is trying to bring in harmony, or say bring in a kind of a, say, harmony in the working of the various cooperatives all across the world. While the members are not exactly countries, because various companies, various other cooperatives can also become a member of the same, but the memberships of, say, the various groups span across more than 100 countries all across the world, right? Their influence is so much that they also try to have this 2025 years as a second international year for cooperatives, right? So this is actually to spread the broader aim of cooperating for a better future, because we have to understand the significance of cooperatives. This is a very simple significance, that cooperatives are composed of members, and members, they focus on agriculture, they focus on credit, they focus on maybe, say, dairy sector, and these members, they have a common interest to promote growth and development in their particular sectors. So when each and every member, they try to promote their own, say, interest, they promote a group interest, and when the group interest is promoted, maybe some other bank, they will be interested in giving them finance, and hence they can expand, and maybe some other international organizations, even in the case of World Bank, IMF, right? And so the various UN group, they also give funding to this kind of developmental, schemes and programs. So this is what is trying to boost the, say, cooperatives, or say the spirit of cooperatives in the, say, particular world. And also let me tell you, the General Assembly of this International Cooperative Alliance is the highest decision making body here, and also we have to understand this General Assembly meets every year, and the global conference is held every 2 years. So this is what we have to keep this thing in mind, and according to the same, let me have the answer right in the comments below according to this question, right? Recently, the government of India has launched this Krishi Nivesh portal, as we can see here. We have a meeting of the Agriculture and Farmers Welfare Ministry, Government of India. They have launched something which we know as Krishi Nivesh portal. To understand this, which is a very simple thing, we'll be just understanding the facts, where this Krishi portal is trying to have a special focus on agri graduates, bringing in or attracting foreign direct investments, foreign investors, promoting women entrepreneurs, cooperative societies increasing their role, FPOs, farmer producer organizations, self-help groups, farmer groups, agri startups, agri entrepreneurs, corporates, and even public private partnerships. Now, why we are talking about all of them? Especially also we have the farmers here. We are trying to boost the investment in the agriculture arena. Now, investments can be of various types, right? It can be, say, pre-harvest and post-harvest infrastructure, right? Where in the pre-harvest scenario, we can have various farmland investment according to, say, for example, setting up good quality of fertilizers plus chemical factories. We can also have better irrigation systems, right? We can have good amount of transportation investments, right? Apart from this, in the post-harvest, we have the various amount of cold storage investment that the government of India is trying to improve over a period of time. It is also about the transportation sector that will be linking the farmland to the markets, right? And also, it is also about, say, bringing proper amount of technology that leads to the various, say, preservation aspects of the food crops, distribution, marketing, and also the distribution of the same at the various APMCs in the country. So this is actually to boost the overall investment scenario in the country, and not only by attracting investments from the, say, domestic investors, also from the foreign investors. They're trying to bring in FDI, and this will all be ensured via a digital portal, that is the Krishi Nivesh portal, which is a very, very important one-stop portal for the investment aspects of our Indian agriculture. So please do keep in mind that this is trying to attract the investments in our country. Now, you let me know what the answer of the same is in the comments below. The Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority has upgraded their call centers and the support centers with that new toll-free number. Now, this is something that we do not have to remember, that what the toll-free number is actually used, but actually what Investor Education Protection Fund Authority is all about. Now, when we read newspapers, right, don't we come across this kind of advertisements by various government authorities, right? We have sometimes the, say, advertisements by the Ministry of Food and Public Distribution and Consumer Affairs. We have advertisements by the Ministry of Agriculture. We have advertisements by the income tax departments to spread awareness about the tax proposals, the GSTs, various frauds, scams that are happening in the same way, right? The Ministry of Corporate Affairs via the Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority, which is actually been established in 2016 under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, right? This is trying to spread awareness across various investors in the economy. We know that we invest our savings in the stock markets, right? And how the investments can be prone to some risks, or if, for example, there are some investors who have not withdrawn their funds from the particular investment websites, or say from their stockbrokers. So those funds can be, say, lapsing or having certain conditions. So that is where these particular government ads are coming into picture, which are powered by the Investor Education and Fund, Protection Fund Authority. So they are trying to spread awareness in the, say, overall economy by various newspapers, social media, and so on. So we will not be going into details of this particular ad here. We'll be trying to understand what this particular fund is all about. So this was actually established under the provision of the Companies Act. Now, what this fund is all about? See, we invest our money into this kind of stock markets, right? But there are some people who do not withdraw their money, or say keep their money pending, right, for a long period of time. So the amounts such as dividends, application money, right, mature deposits which have remained unpaid, right, or unclaimed, no one has claimed that money, for a period of 7 years are transferred to the Investor Education Protection Fund. Now, why the name of the fund is like this? Because this fund is utilized for, say, promoting the awareness of various aspects, as we have seen in the previous slide, right? So the fund is actually used for promoting advertisements, but not only that, it is also utilized for the distribution of any disgorged amount across eligible applicants who have suffered financial losses due to wrong actions by any person in accordance to orders made by the court. Sometimes in the stock market, some people can be defrauded or some various issues can take place, right, due to which we sometimes have to rehabilitate those people as the government authority. So the money that will be paid will be going from here, right? And also, when a person or entity in the securities market makes a profit by fraudulent means, right, a disgorgement order is issued by the to actually repayment to with respect to the profits, to the gains, to the affected investors along with interest. So this money is drawn from this particular aspect. And also, amounts credited to the IEPF are maintained under Consolidated Fund of India, right? Article 266 of the Constitution, right? So it is to the Consolidated Fund of India that this is accruing to. And here, let me know what the answer of the same in the comments below. Now recently there has been good news coming from the stock markets for international comparison with reference to India. Recently the MSCI Emerging Market Index, right, they have found that India has surpassed China in this particular index. Now when we talk about the Emerging Market Index, right, we have to find out how the stock markets of the entire world are classified, right? For example, we have stock markets from US, Japan, Brazil, China, India, and so on. So how they are classified? For example, we understand that in India, we have the NSE, National Stock Exchange, where we have various stocks. For example, say the large cap, mid cap, and the small caps. The large cap stocks are, for example, are the companies which are very huge and very stable with a large amount of market capitalization or the entire value of the company in this particular aspect. For example, there are companies such as Reliance Industries Limited, right? In the mid cap section, we have various other, so for example, the government PSUs are there. In the small cap, there are some companies which have, for example, just listed on the stock markets and, for example, are performing quite well, having growth potential over a period of time, right? So there are various amounts of, say, companies across the stock markets. And also we have to understand that investors from all across the world, they invest in our stock markets, right? And the attractiveness of, say, the Indian stock market is something that the investors are looking all across the world. So this is exactly a particular index to rank the various countries and how safe it is to invest, how, say, important that particular country is with reference to the overall international stock markets. So these are the various considerations for this index, for which it has been divided into MSCI World Index, where it is generally consisting of developed countries of having developed markets, US, Finland, Japan, and the Emerging Market Index, that is having the emerging markets. Why emerging markets? Because countries such as Brazil, China, India, they are actually the countries which are emerging over a period of time, and soon they can even challenge the developed economies, say going into 2050, 2060s, 2070s, right? By then, India will be actually developing because India is having this broader target of becoming a developed country by 2047, right? So this is where we have to understand these are emerging economies where we are seeing good amount of economic growth, healthy institutions such as well-performing stock market, well-performing central banks, in our case the Reserve Bank of India, how they are maintaining inflation, and also having a robust amount of say market based on the demography, that is a young population, how vibrant the demand is in the market. So considering all these functions, we have this index here. And also when we talk about, say, the MSCI World Index, right, they are having, say, various amounts of, say, say stocks or say the various amounts of small cap, mid caps in this particular calculation, right? When we talk about the MSCI All Country World Index, it is having, say, 99% of all the stocks, right? And where we can understand the large and the mid caps, or the large and the mid cap stocks, right, as we have discussed here, they are having a weightage of around 85%, right? They are having the weightage of around 85% consisting from both world and emerging markets. So large and mid cap funds or mid cap companies in this particular world, say for example developed markets, and in the emerging markets they're consisting of 85%. And let me tell you, the large and mid cap companies are actually those companies which are kind of stable, right? The large cap being more stable because they are much more established, right? And the mid caps a little more, and the small caps companies are actually not that stable because they are just, say, for example, at the nascent stages or at the nascent stages of development or growth in the company, right? So this is where you have to understand, that is why the large and mid caps are having greater weightages than the small caps, where across both world and the emerging markets, the small caps are having only around 14% weightages. So this is about the technical aspect of this particular index. But when we talk about the recent news as of now, right, this is the news that India takes the top spot and has dethroned China according to the government, say, advertisement here. Correct? And here this index, again let me tell you, is having large, mid and small cap say companies from 24 emerging markets, right? And India became the largest weight, overtaking China, as we can see here, right? This is the overall, say, weightages that India is having in this particular index, right? It has just surpassed China in this particular aspect. While India is at around $5 billion. So this is actually, China is having 60% more, say, market capitalization in the stock markets. But still India has dethroned China. Why? Because there are many reasons. So that is why we have to understand India's rise in this index. So one of the first reason is due to China's own issues, right? China recently faced a slowdown. Also, before that, China was following a zero COVID policy, where even if one COVID case was detected, entire cities were shut down, and they impacted China. Also, China is involved in various geopolitical issues, right? The countries all across the world are not friendly with China as of now, correct? And then also, as we have seen in the case of India, the foreign direct investments, they have been increasing over a period of time. Correct? And along with the same, the foreign institutional investments, they also have been increasing and have been remaining kind of a stable figure. While FDI have increased to the tune of around 47% in say 2024 early quarters, right? So this is what is actually trying to boost the optimism for Indian markets. So whenever, say, the Indian markets will be in heavy demand, right, both by FDIs and FIIs, automatically India has overtaken China in this particular aspect here, right? Also, on the other side, India is also seeing, the highest GDP growth across, the entire world, right? The GDP growth rate is actually the highest in the India as of now. So the Indian markets are also quite alive, and the investors are motivated to invest in India's fortunes. So this is what we have to understand, that is benefited India in this particular aspects. And also we have to understand that in recent times, the National Stock Exchange and also the Sensex, right, which are the major two stock exchanges in the country, they have been soaring like anything. They have been rising like anything, reflecting that the Indian companies are performing well, right? And that the Indian consumers are having good market sentiment. And also there are a lot of, people in the country as of now who are ready to invest in the stock markets. So there is an improving mood of investing in the stock markets in the country as of now. This is why this positive development has taken place. And according to this, whatever we have discussed as of now, please do let me know the answer of the same in the comments below. Now recently, the government of India has conducted a mega plantation oil drive under the National Mission on Edible Oil, Palm Oil mission, right? And under the drive, 17 lakhs of palm saplings, right, have been cultivated, and this has been across around 15 states in the country, and this has benefited 10,000 farmers as of now, as we can see here, correct? But when we talk about this entire article, we'll be discussing about the status and scenario of the edible oil in the country. Now, whatever we are going to discuss here, let me tell you, are very important for your prelims and also important for your mains. So be very focused as of now. See, when we talk about that data with reference to edible oil availability with reference to the last 5 years, Now, whatever the requirement of India with regards to edible oil has been, because edible oil is very, very important for, say, the overall Indian economy, not only with reference to cooking. We also have the application of oil, particularly palm oil, in industrial applications, in detergents, plastics, cosmetics, and also the production of various biofuels. So the edible oil scenario is very important to understand. So when we look at the overall availability of edible oil in India, the last 5 years, we see that we have majorly imported, that is to the tune of 58%. That is, we have been dependent on the rest of the world. That means we are not self-reliant, because we only meet 42% of our domestic demand from the domestic production. Okay, now let us break down this 58% into what kinds of oil we are actually importing into, right? Now, the majority of our imports are of palm oil, around 60%, followed by, say, soybean oil, then sunflower oil. Now, palm oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil, these are also, imported from, say, various other parts of the world. Now, these are very important for your information. For example, palm oil has been imported majorly from Indonesia and Malaysia, right? Then when we talk about, say, the case of soybean oil, this is coming to the second, import volume in terms of the total edible oil. Most of the imports have came from Argentina and Brazil. And when it comes to sunflower oil, most of it has came from Ukraine, Russia, Argentina, and so on. So we understand that as a nation, as a very vibrant nation that is capable of growing or, say, cultivating edible oil on our own merit, we are importing the same from various countries, right? And also we have to understand there are countries such as Malaysia, right? Countries such as Argentina and Russia and Ukraine, which are kind of, for example, say, with Malaysia, India was not having a good amount of diplomatic ties over the last few years. Argentina is facing some economic crisis, some political turmoil, right? Russia and Ukraine are involved in their own issues. So we are dependent on nations which cannot, actually are having some issues with reference to the status quo. And that is what we have to understand is a very, very important fragility in the Indian edible oil scenario, right? As we can understand in India, you can also have a ranking comparison of this aspect. According to the area under cultivation of safflower, niacin, and various other edible oils, right, we have the most according to the soybean oil cultivation, followed by rapeseed and mustard, groundnut, and so on. So you can actually arrange them in ascending and descending order, which is very, very crucial, because this thing is always in the news, and in prelims the questions are such that they ask you regarding the trends, regarding the various aspects related to data in this particular matter, right? Also, when it comes to the production, we are ahead in the production of soybean, right, rapeseed, mustard, groundnut oil, castor oil, and so on. In nowhere, right, we understand that we import sunflower and soybean oil, right? While we have the greater production of soybean oil in this particular matter, we also have somewhere sunflower written here, but nowhere we can see palm oil, right? Palm oil is even nowhere significant to be shown in this graph, right, in terms of area and production. That is why, at the beginning only we discussed how there is a national mission on this edible oil, and particularly to promote palm oil. And also, we have this report by Niti Aayog by the name of Pathways and Strategies for Accelerating Growth in the Edible Oil Towards Atmanirbharta, which is showing that there is a dramatic rise of the demand per capita consumption of edible oil at around 19.17 kg per year, per capita, right? And this is a very, very huge amount. Multiply this into the Indian population, right? So we can understand the demand in a year. But according to 2020-23, we have fulfilled only 40 to 45% of the country's overall requirement. So this is something which is a kind of a demand and supply gap, right? Huge demand, less supply in domestic. That is why we are depending on the rest of the world, right? And also, as we can see here, right, in this particular, from this report only, India's position in the global edible oil market, as we can understand, is that when it comes to the edible oil crops and so on, right? Be it soybean, and the various sunflower and the various other kinds of oils. We have seen that India's rank is kind of good when it comes to oil production, right? And but we have to understand the same amount of distribution to meet the domestic consumption, that is a per capita consumption of around 19.7 kgs per year is not enough, correct? This kind of production, while it is actually quite huge, if you can see, as India's rank is varying from 2nd, 5th, even 1st in castor oil, right? 2nd, 5th and 6th and so on, right? So we do not have this amount of performance reflecting in meeting our domestic demand. So clearly we understand that we need to expand the area of under cultivation, right? And how the Niti Aayog has reflected this or given this, it is actually by greater amount of crop retention that we need to do and crop diversification that we need to do, because in India simply we promote something which we know as a rice wheat system, that we promote more production of rice and wheat, because simply according to Indian farmers, and this is a real fact, that they do not get remunerative returns on the edible oil. So the MSP for them is also very low. That is why the market for edible oil in India is not well developed, right? We also need a horizontal expansion, that is increasing the crop lands, farmlands, and also the vertical expansion of improving the supply chain of the edible oil market in the country. We also need a dynamic trade policy so as to gradually reduce the dependence on Argentina, on Ukraine, on Malaysia, right, on the various amounts of palm oil and edible oil for balanced growth, because we cannot drastically decrease our imports, because the relations will be affected then. And also broadening the scope of national mission on edible oils that we are going to see just now. Before that, we need to look at the interesting status of palm oil. Why? Because India is the world's 2nd largest consumer and number 1 importer of vegetable oil. That is there. World's 2nd largest and number 1 importer of vegetable oils. That is quite understandable. But here, India's annual domestic consumption of edible oil is around 25 million tons, out of which 9 ton is palm oil, because palm oil, as we can understand, is not only essential in mixing or the various vegetable oil or edible oil in the country with palm oil, but also it is extremely important for industrial applications such as cosmetics, biofuels and detergents and so on. So palm oil is high in demand, and India imports 58%, as we have seen, around 58% of its edible oil, with palm oil having 59% share there, right? As we can see here, Indonesia and Malaysia is having the most significant aspect here, and global palm oil position, as we can see, India is the largest, and import, as we can see here from this data, right? Import with reference to palm oil, they have been quite high when we compare with the other kinds. And also, as we can see here, the global prices, oil prices, are kind of volatile if we just consider 2021 to 2023. While the prices have been kind of seeing a lower trend, but as we can see, during the COVID pandemic, the prices were quite high, and also during 2022-23 December, even 2023 January, right, the prices of various oils were also kind of seeing a spiking. So whenever the prices will be increasing, it will be leading to greater amount of trade deficit, right? Greater amount of trade deficit within the country. So again, we have to understand improving the scenario of the edible oil is very, very important, and that is why these suggestions are extremely important, right? So here, when we look at the other kind of data with reference to edible oil production, now these are the things which are important for our prelims. Now I will be zooming into each of the slides here, each of this table here. You can take a screenshot, because this is talking about all of the oil seeds, right, in this row, and separately the various other oils such as groundnut, mustard, soybean, sunflower, sesame, safflower, Niger seed, linseed, castor and so on. And here we have the various states, right? So mostly for our prelims examination, right, we have we have to look into which of the states are actually within the top 3 within each of these particular crops, because in prelims there have been questions regarding the various distribution of the crops according to their ranking. right? So we find the total oil seeds, right? The states which are having, say, the greater amount of area distribution, even production, right? We understand that, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Gujarat are the top producers, right? Also collaborate, collate this particular data with the cumulative share of production here, with this data here, as we can see here. According to groundnut, Andhra Pradesh is having the greater amount of production, right? So this is how you just look at this data, right? Have a screenshot and have, preserve this particular, say, data which I have extracted from this report of Niti Aayog. So this is very important for your prelims information. Okay, next, when we talk about this mega oil plantation drive, right, this is mainly to promote the palm oil cultivation in the country. And here, palm oil cultivation in the country, right, is actually quite delicate, because there are only some states and some union territories which meet the criteria of this particular cultivation of the crop, right? As we can see, in Kerala we have some probability, along the western states of Maharashtra, Gujarat, a little portion of Karnataka, Goa and also Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, and majority of the northeast and the island union territories. So these are the main potential areas where palm oil cultivation can be possible, and this is actually one of the major initiatives of the country too. And also, when we look at the state-wise cultivated area under palm oil cultivation, right, the highest area under cultivation is in Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and so on. So this is what we have to understand, but we can see the production, the land under production in this particular aspect is very low. This is why the government has launched something which we know as National Edible Oil Mission to promote more and more aspect of palm oil cultivation. So this was launched in 2021. We'll be just going through the scheme details briefly. It was launched in 2021, and this is a centrally sponsored scheme where both the center, right, plus the states, they have to contribute finance to fund this particular scheme to promote palm oil cultivation in the country, right? It invests more, it is planning to invest more than 11,000 crores over the 5 years and is aiming to improve the production by, say, 11 lakh tons and 28 lakh tons by 2028-29. And this will be involving the raising of areas under palm oil cultivation to around 10 lakh hectares, right, and 16 lakh hectares. What is the exact area under cultivation as of now? 3.7 lakh hectares, right? It will be raised to, right, around, say, 16 lakh hectares by 2030. And also, the palm oil farmers, they will be getting financial assistance and remuneration under a price and viability formula. That is, for example, palm oil cultivation can be very expensive. For example, it will be taking 10 crores, for example, to set up this farm. But the farmer is having only 1 crore rupees. So the rest of the 9 crore rupees will be given by the government, or say by the states, right? Because this is a kind of a, say, scheme to reduce the import dependence on the rest of the nations, right? This will be trying to say improve the trade deficit of the country, and that is why, to have those long-term benefits, we need to support our farmers as of now to make their farming viable. So this is why they will be getting other quality seeds and technology too. So this is the main aspect of this particular mission. Firstly, it is to promote self-reliance. Second, it is to improve the, say, edible oil scenario. Then it will be also promoting our exports. It will be also creating better jobs, and also it will be exploiting the natural resources of the country, such as the island, say, union territories and the northeast India, which is actually capable of, palm oil cultivation, right? And also will be getting higher yields and better returns to the people, or say to the farmers of our country. So these are all the important, say, kind of scheme details that you need to know, and that is why the government of India is having this mega oil plantation drive as of now. And based on this particular discussion, you please let me know what is the answer of this MCQ in the comments below. Now in this next article, we will be trying to understand what are district agro-meteorological units? Because recently the government of India is trying to revive the district agricultural meteorological units, or we'll be calling them as DAMUs. Now DAMUs will be a major initiative of the India Meteorological Department, because back in 2018 they actually shut these DAMUs down. But in 2024 again the government and also the IMD is thinking of reviving them. As we can see, these are actually a very, very important say agro-meteorological units which performs the checks of say rainfall, right? Say it also looks at the various droughts prediction, then it also looks at say the temperature variation, the humidity, right, across the various farmlands or say the various rural areas where the DAMUs are generally installed, right? In 2018, the IMDB established around say 100-200 DAMUs in India under the Gramin Krishi Mausam Seva scheme, right? This particular scheme has been trying to promote a better amount of say temperature prediction, better amount of say droughts, humidity and so on, which would be given as a kind of update, right? Update to the farmers, right, in 2 weeks, once in 2 weeks, with reference to SMS, with reference to various WhatsApp alert, with reference to email, right, with reference to what kind of say crops that they can grow and what not, right, whether the main amount of say weather related information, right? So that is why this particular DAMUs were installed or say were actually housed at the Krishi Vigyan Kendras, right? Krishi Vigyan Kendras are actually those say areas which are or say those main research institutes at various locations in the country in the rural areas, which is trying to improve the overall scientific development of the rural say agricultural scene. So that is why we have to understand these fields are having various say kind of say status stations at the various farmer fields, from which this feedback is kind of coordinated to district level agencies, and finally the overall DAMUs, they are collaborated at the IMD level too. So this is what the IMDB kind of shut down the DAMUs in 2018, but again it is now trying to revive the scene, because in 2018 the IMD thought that we can automate these DAMUs and use less staffs and so on. We can cut down on the staff. But in 2024 we understand this manpower is very important in collaborating with the farmers and so on. That is why the IMD is trying to revive the DAMUs, and that is what brings us to this question. Please do let me know the answer of the same in the comments below. India is trying to promote technical textiles, and according to Union Minister of Textiles, right, India will be crossing $10 billion of export targets for technical textiles. Also, India's technical textile markets has grown by 10% according to the Textile Ministry. Now, what are these technical textiles all about? Now, we have, for example, various people working in various professions, right? We have firemen, right? We have also say automobile sector where we use textiles to make car seats, right? So these are the various say textiles which are not the textile that we wear generally, for example the shirts and so on, right? We also have the textiles on our shoes, on our various aspects of life that are quite different from the textile that we usually wear. These are known as technical textiles, which are having say a kind of a special property, kind of a special characteristics. So these are created with some functions in mind. Industrial fabrics can be designed to exhibit a variety of specific characteristics, such as we have various other properties such as bacterial, antistatic, chemical resistance, flame retardant, insect repellent, right, absorbent and UV resistance. We have technical textiles in various applications. We can use the same in our cars, right, in our car seats. We can also use them in various other medical professions, right? Then we can also use technical textiles in various other arenas such as sports, right? The kind of say equipments and the say proper amount of breathable fabric that the sports people wear, they are all made of technical textiles. Have we also heard about carbon fiber, So they are also based on this technical textiles. So there are many aspects of this particular technical textiles that the country is trying to promote. And also, as we can see here, we have the National Technical Textiles Mission at an outlay of 1400 crores, right, where the main components of this particular mission is to promote research, innovation and development, export promotion, promotion and market development, and education skill development, where under this particular say broader aim, government has approved 50 lakh grants for 4 technical textile startups. India has also granted 19 research projects, national technical textile missions. And apart from this, we have also these kind of achievements. For example, say with reference to total number of projects, 156 projects have been approved, right? Then key meditech, or say the textiles which are used in medicine, right? For example, at IIT Bombay, IIT Jammu, right? So these are being implemented. So the Textile Ministry is very optimistic that over a period of time, the exports will be increasing. And as we can see here, the top 10 export destinations for overall Indian textile, firstly we have the US, Emirates, right, Bangladesh, UK and so on. So we can actually transform the same markets into our export destination for technical textile, because the global trade in technical textiles is around valued at $300 billion, right? And India's domestic market size is around $25 billion. So that is kind of scalable. And also the annual exports are worth $2.6 billion. So this is what is kind of important statistics for a mains examination. And according to this, please do let me know what is the answer of the same in the comments below. Recently, the government of India has introduced the Central Financial Assistance for hydropower projects in the Northeast, right? And here, when we talk about firstly the potential of the Northeast region and its hydropower, we firstly understand there are lots of rivers across these various states, be it Arunachal Pradesh, right, Assam, Meghalaya, right, Nagaland and various other states in the Northeast, right. We have also Sikkim, we have parts of West Bengal in the say western side, right. We have this kind of basin of Brahmaputra which is having an intense amount of hydropower potential, right? As we can see, hydropower potential in major river basins across the country, we find the highest is Brahmaputra, which is having more than 50-60% of the potential here, and it is only followed by say Indus and Ganga, contrary to our general understanding that the Ganga and the Indus is having the highest amount of say hydropower potential. It is not. As we can see, from Arunachal Pradesh to Meghalaya, Mizoram, Manipur, right, in this order, we have this amount of exploitative potential and also developed potential. As we can see, right, the exploitable potential is much more higher than what we currently have. Also, we know that overall, right, the Northeast region of the country is kind of less developed when it comes to the infrastructure, when it comes to the various amounts of say ports and say airports and so on. Also with reference to energy, right, we do not have huge amount of hydropower potential in this particular area, and that is why the government of India is trying to promote the same, because Northeast India is actually known as the hydropower capital of the country, right. But there are various challenges. The very first challenge is actually the say low level of utilization, right. That is, we have seen that across say the entire India, right, we have high amount of hydropower potential, but when it comes to the comparison of installed power, we see that the installed power is very less compared to the potential here, right. Next, we also have various delays in various projects, right. For example, as we see here, right, according to various other states in the Northeast, right, we see in Arunachal Pradesh, we have the capacity yet to be developed and capacity under construction, right. There are lots of projects under construction which are facing delays. Next, there is also various issues of ecological considerations, because in India we have to do something which we know as environment impact assessment with reference to various projects which are maybe polluting, right, which can displace people and animals, right. They are heavily scrutinized, and also we know that the Northeast region in our country are extremely biodiverse, right, extremely biodiverse, and the construction of large hydropower projects can be fatal to the biodiversity. So there are risks in this particular matter, there are challenges in this particular matter. Then also we have to look at the connectivity, right? For constructing great or say major hydropower projects, it is very easy to construct the same in the Jammu and Kashmir region, in Himachal Pradesh, in Uttarakhand, because the mainland of India is easily connected to this particular aspect. But Northeast is not having that good connection with the mainland India, right? Via the Chicken Neck corridor, which is extremely narrow, the amount of say various amount of say imports, raw materials is very difficult to transport there. So that is why the connectivity is also particular aspect here. Next, with reference to various funding, the funding is also very acute in this particular area. So these are the various things we have to consider when we look at the challenges. Now, this scheme that the government of India has came up with is actually involving the Ministry of Power and having 10% of the entire gross budget that the Ministry of Power gets in a particular year. So that 10% or around say 4,000 crores from around 2024-25 financial year to 31-32 financial year, that will be given to a joint venture formation that will be composed of various states or the central PSUs functioning in the Northeast region that will be carrying out this hydropower project. And some other details is that the targeted hydropower capacity is around 15,000 megawatts, right? The central financial assistance of the government of India with reference to this joint venture company that they will be getting will be around 24% of the total project equity. That is, whenever this kind of projects will be constructed, their ownership will be granted to the state government, the central PSUs and so on. And the state government can own only up to 24% of the equity, the maximum of 750 crore per project. And the CFA is only will be given to the viable projects. That means the projects which will be say having a proper amount of implementation on real ground. And finally, the state governments are obligated to waive any say free power that many state governments give to the farmers for agriculture, because this particular state governments, they also have to meet the expenditure of the hydropower projects. So they have to save some money somewhere and to invest the money in this particular areas, right? And the main significance is that this will be boosting the India's Northeast region's energy security. So energy security with reference to the various major river basins in the Northeast regions, they can be easily be exploited in this particular mission here. And that is the main significance, that in this kind of initiatives they can transform, right, the Northeast India into India's, right, powerhouse capital, right, India's powerhouse capital. And according to whatever we have discussed, next, when we consider the other initiatives for hydropower developments, firstly we have this hydropower repurchase, right, obligation. For example, whatever the power distribution companies are there in the Northeast regions, they have to purchase the hydropower, not only the coal power distribution and so on, right? Then we have say the various tariff rationalization features, right? Then we have various tariff rationalization, that is to reduce the tariffs or high tariffs of power companies of say the power distribution over a period of time. Then we also have the budgetary support for the Northeast region, right? We have the budgetary support for the Northeast region to promote various amounts of say infrastructure with reference to hydropower. Then also we have say declaring the large say hydropower projects as renewable energy, right? Next, we have actually declared in 2019 that the Northeast region, right, will be having the capability of say the status of a renewable energy, right? So these are the various other initiatives that we have to keep in mind. Next, do let me know what is the answer to this in the comments below. Recently, the government of India has done something which we know as a scheme modification with reference to budget support to the hydroelectric projects in the country. We'll be looking into the scheme modifications because there is nothing to understand here. What is the scheme modification? The total outlay was around 12,000 crores for generation capacity of 31,000 around megahertz, right? And what is the eligibility? That there must be letters of award issued up to June 2028. So all the projects up to June 2028, they'll be having this particular aspect. Then the expanded scope. Right now, the entire money, right? The entire money can be also invested in transmission lines, ropeways, railway sidings, communication infrastructure, and also strengthening of the existing roads and bridges. The project capability is actually more than 25 megawatt, and this will be including private sector and pump storage projects that we'll be going to understand in the next slide. Right? And the budgetary support limit is that up to projects of 200 megawatts, 1 crore rupees, right? And projects above 200 megawatts, 200 crores plus 0.75 crore, right, per megawatt. And to understand what are actually pump storage, imagine this is a huge reservoir here, right? And then we have this particular, say, low reservoir here. So we have some kind of a potential energy, don't you agree? That if the water flows from here to here, we can generate energy, but cannot be used, whatever water has flowed down here, and pump back again the same water back up to again get say kind of a same potential energy here. So this is kind of a creating an endless loop of potential energy. But the main aspect is how to power this. That is actually pumping the water from the lower reservoir to the upper reservoir. So this is kind of possible via renewable energy by having a turbine or pump, right, and having various, say, wind energy panels and, say, solar panels, so which we can use the turbine to pump up the water. So using renewable energy, using very green energy, we can use this hydropower project. And let me tell you, pump storage projects are gaining the popularity in the country as of now, because the government of India is trying to boost their particular investment in this particular area. So with reference to this, please do let me know what is the answer in the comments below. Thank you.